The Nigerian military has launched a major operation to combat the new terror group, Lukarawa, after a recent escalation of violence in Sokoto and Kebbi states. Acting Chief of Army Staff Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluyede visited Sokoto yesterday to assess and motivate troops stationed in the area.
Lukarawa, reportedly linked to jihadi factions in Mali and Niger, has been drawing local youth through financial inducements and extremist ideologies. In response to increasing violence, the Nigerian Army and the Nigerian Air Force have deployed forces to affected areas, launching airstrikes and mobilizing ground troops in Operation Fasan Yamma to dislodge the group. This morning, we're joined by our correspondent, Emmanuel Bagudu, to bring us up to speed on the information that we have so far regarding Lukarawa. Good morning, Emmanuel. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning from Abuja. Thank you.
All right. Some would say that this has come as a surprise. Others will say, no, it's tomato, 12 and a dozen, different names, but at the end of the day, a challenge with insecurity. But we want you to please bring us up to speed with what we know so far regarding the Lukarawas.
Yes. Just like you said, some will see it as a surprise, but the truth of the matter is that it's not a surprise. You know, sometimes in September, we traveled to Sokoto, Zamfara, and some parts of Kebbi and Katsina, and we reported a lot of activities of terrorists, where we went to Sokoto East and Sokoto North, coincidentally where Lukarawas are currently operating. That's talking about in Tangaza local government and in Gudu local government. The residents and citizens made it clear to us that in these particular locations, the terrorists have already started collecting, taxes to communities and sending communities out of their farmlands and then forcing them to stay in IDP camps. We reported a story somewhere in Sabon where we saw a particular community within Isa and Sabon local government of Sokoto State where actually an entire community were moved into an IDP, talking about the various primary schools in Sabon local government headquarters. Now, the Lukarawas are not new. They are mercenaries. In 2018, you remember Governor Tambuwal of Sokoto State actually made a lot of effort to send them back. You know, they were mercenaries that were initially employed by some Fulani communities in Sokoto and Kebbi to help them protect their communities from bandits who came to rustle their cows. So they successfully sent bandits away. They did a good job for these Fulanis by protecting them from their cows. And then when they discovered that they are powerful enough, they decided to form, a terrorist group. And they named themselves Lukarawa, where they started inducing, youths and recruiting them. Then in 2023, last year, July, when there was a coup in Niger, because that coup actually suspended Niger's constitution, withdrew Niger from the multinational joint task forces, which Nigeria and Cameroon were part of, and now that opens the border. And that simply means that Niger is not part of a regional bloc. So that makes the border now porous, and the Lukarawas now find themselves back to Nigeria, back to Kebbi State, and this time around, they now form alliance with local bandits, taking advantage of the impoverished nature of the Sokoto and Kebbi, where bandits have made citizens not to be able to go to their farms, to stay hungry, and so impoverished. So youths now are cannon foders, and are now be conscripted into the Lukarawa, unfortunate terrorist group. That has been the way their history is, and it's not surprising that we're operating. And the Nigerian army cannot say that this is new. And very important, the new theater of operation, which is Operation Fasan Yamma, is actually designed with its headquarters in Gusau, Zamfara state capital. Is actually designed to take care of Katsina, Zamfara, and Sokoto, and not Kebbi. Kebbi is not among. So I don't know what is going to happen with the people of Kebbi. I don't know why this confusion is going to appear. And then this time around, the Lukarawa are operating in Sokoto North, while we still have the chunk of bandits operating in Sokoto East, even though Sokoto North and Sokoto East have some kind of alliance. Talking about Tangaza and Gudu have some kind of border with Godabawa local government and Ilela local government, which are in Sokoto East, which we visited. So probably I don't know what the army is going to do about it, because it's a very, very complex situation right now. Yeah.
When you say they are mercenaries, does this mean that these are not Nigerians? They are from other parts of the Sahel region that are paid or sponsored by whoever, and of course have now invaded Nigeria to set up their base here. And I like the argument that you have that the army cannot say that they haven't been aware of them. But do you see any military presence, any security presence in those regions?
Yes, let me start by the question. The first question you talk about being mercenaries. They were mercenaries as far back as 2018. The records are very clear. They were mercenaries employed by some Fulani communities in Sokoto and Kebbi to protect them from bandits who come to wrestle their cows. So they did a good job, and they were sent. But of course, after doing that good job, they now became terrorists, criminals, and they were sent away sometimes late 2017 and 2018 by the government of Aminu Tambuwal, Sokoto State. When they were sent back in 2018, they now decided to remain there, and then later took advantage of the July 2023 coup by Niger, which withdrew Niger from regional blocks, and then suspended Niger's constitution, withdrew Niger army from the multilateral joint task force, then making our border with Niger, and of course Niger's border with Cameroon and other countries so porous. That's when they now came in. And
so to clarify again,
terrorists.
Again, Emmanuel, just to clarify, these are not Nigerians, or is this a? Would you know if this is a mix between people from Francophone Africa or other parts of the continent and Nigerians?
They are not Nigerians. They are from Mali and Libya and some parts of Algeria. My records and my investigation shows that some of them are from Mali, some of them are from Niger, and some of them are from Algeria. Mali and Libya actually shares a border with Niger. So I think that's the access. That's the reason that's how they manage to walk through and get access to Nigeria. So clearly they are from Libya, and most of them are from Libya, Mali, and then a few of them from Algeria. Of course, they speak the Fulfulde, which is actually a language that flows through between those three countries up to the northwestern part of Nigeria, and then some parts of northeastern part of Nigeria. So they are foreigners. They are foreigners, but right now they are formed alliance with local terrorists, which is so unfortunate. They are formed alliance with the likes of course, we know that Nigerian army have done a very good job. They have they have put Bello Turji right now on the run, and some of his they have killed the general Kachala Sububu, and then of course very big champions have been killed, weakening the local terrorists in the northwest. But the ones that are coming up have been recruited by Lukarawa. Lukarawas are coming now with full force, and just like we said, the Operation Fasan Yamma is meant to cater for Sokoto, Zamfara, and Katsina State, and Kebbi is not, among. And Kebbi is it's actually the main entrance where these guys are coming in to take advantage of. Yeah.
All right. Has there also been, any blame, or would you say that there can be any blame that can be put on citizens? Because part of what we saw the army say was that the citizens didn't report and they had kept quiet about this, wondering why they're just reporting now. So is there any blame? Is there a shared responsibility here for the citizens? I mean, these citizens who are, in some cases, living with fear, or in some other cases, having to pay terrorists to guard their farms and, just ensure that they're not being attacked.
Yes, the blame by General Buba, that's the defense spokesperson, is just a normal way of, seeking for the support of citizens to come and help them, provide vital information to fight terrorists. But you recall our last visit to Sokoto, where we spent up to 4 days. We spent almost every day speaking to citizens who mentioned to us various locations, who even claim they can take us there. That the terrorists are already seated, they're already on ground, and they're already collecting taxes. These citizens have been crying out for years. So I beg to differ. I beg to differ that, because we have videos, we have evidence to show that we have talked to citizens who spoke to us in various languages outside of Fulani. They spoke to us passionately on 4 or 5 different occasions, that they have been crying out that these terrorists have come and have taken their lands, and that they need help. They need more reinforcement of troops. We went to Sabon Bruni local government area. It's a local government area which is a neighborhood, just a stone throw to Niger Republic, where we saw a whole community was being sent away from their communities to just come and take refuge inside the local government headquarters. About 4 secondary schools, 4 primary schools, making 8 schools being occupied by communities who have been ransacked as IDP camps. So I beg to differ that, because these citizens have been crying. For Sokoto, where we can tell you point blank that we have evidence that they have been crying for years, for months, that they need reinforcement and that terrorists have taken over their communities. So it's not true. I don't think that. I beg to differ that the citizens have kept quiet and have not spoken. So I think that statement has to be investigated, have to be clarified. Yeah. We will find a way of clarifying that if I have an opportunity of speaking to General Edward Buba. Yeah.
All right. Emmanuel Bagudu, thank you very much for stopping by. I think it's very important, you know, the place where you mentioned that these aren't a new terror group. They've been there since at least 2018. That's a very important detail there. Thanks for your time. We'll speak with you again pretty soon. Now, away from the security situation, let's take a very short break. When we come back, we, of course, continue this morning on Breakfast Central.